Welcome to Collector's Therapy, and I'm pretty excited because this is the first video in a new series I am calling First Time Readings. And these videos are going to be where I review iconic and classic comic book stories that I am reading for the first time. And I can give my review, my reactions, give y'all guys some close-ups and some of the art. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be reviewing X-Men Mutant Massacre. But before that, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe because I'd love to have you as a subscriber so you can keep up with all of the other videos I'm going to be doing in the First Time Reading series. So, as I said, this is X-Men Mutant Massacre, and this is actually the omnibus that is actually out of print. I found it for a fair price. It was obviously above retail because these things go for, depending where you look and everything, they can go up to some out of print Marvel omnibuses can go for like what, $300. Didn't pay that much for this. I couldn't bring myself to pay that much for an omnibus, but this, I absolutely loved it. So before really diving into the X-Men Mutant Massacre crossover, I will say that there are gonna be some light spoilers. I will do my best to keep it into the light spoiler genre. But if you are wanting to come into this completely fresh without being spoiled, I would say pause this video, click off of it, and come back when you've read the X-Men Mutant Massacre run. So let's go ahead and take this dust jacket off. And I really like what I see here because it is an image of the awesome and epic Wolverine versus Sabretooth fight. And it wraps all around. And how awesome is that? I mean, come on. I was really impressed with this actually because let's just say that before reading this Wolverine and Sabretooth fight, it's actually 2 issues. But before reading that, my knowledge of Sabretooth came from the early X-Men movies, which not much to say about that. So I was really, really impressed with this. You got some of those X Factor issues. Let's see if we can find that other. Yes, we've got a little bit of Apocalypse in here. You got Sabretooth versus Daredevil. And here's the second one, and how iconic is that cover? You end up seeing some more Wolverine versus Sabretooth near the end of this epic crossover. And I also want to say that, as you can see, this is an X Factor issue. Let's see which one this is. X Factor number 12. And around this point is when I started really getting into the X Factor issues because I've been reading through the whole Chris Claremont run. I know Chris Claremont did not do the X Factor run, but I feel I've been reading through that. I've been reading through some select New Mutants titles because I'm honestly not super into the New Mutant stuff. But I'm reading it as I feel it's appropriate. You've got Cyclops going crazy because he can't find Madeline Pryor, which ends up leading into some of that stuff that plays out in Fall of the Mutants and Inferno. And you've got Angel losing his wings, and that is just a really, it's kind of a little bit of a tough read with how Cameron Hodge ends up calling to have his wings amputated. That goes into some of the stuff that plays out in Fall of the Mutants with him becoming the Dark Angel within the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse. Yeah, and yes, we even have some stuff in here where Cameron Hodge creates some Dark Phoenix hologram projections, and that goes into Cyclops kind of going crazy. But really good art. I really like it. I think it's pretty good for its time, which is what, 1986 or so? Feel free to correct me in the comments if I have that year wrong. And here are some images of the awesome X-Men versus Fantastic Four. I loved those 4 issues. It was a really awesome story. I'm not going to go into too much spoilers, but it questions whether Mr. Fantastic is all that he says he is. And a really awesome Doctor Doom story between the Fantastic Four and X-Men, and trying to save Kitty Pryde because she gets hurt by the Marauders. Between the Marauders, X-Men, and Morlocks story. We've got the X-Men versus Avengers. This was the first time they ever had this. They ended up going into that in the 2000s, between the House of M kind of storyline that I know a little bit about. And really, this goes into, in the last issue, it plays off, is Magneto really good? Or is he going to turn evil again? They really tease that in this last issue because he gets his helmet back. And I'll just say there's a nice little twist near the end of that, which is actually this page that plays out. Not really what I was expecting. So there's some pretty cool stuff at the end of this with some still images and some reprints of some of the stories. You've got the first mentions of Mr. Sinister, and I really liked that because it felt like, now of course I knew he was coming up at the end, or the X-Men issue where you're kind of starting into the Fall of the Mutant stuff, but it felt like they were building to something. You see them mention Mr. Sinister a couple times, and it felt really, really epic, like they were building into something big. And you end up finding out that Mr. Sinister is actually behind the Marauders. And the stuff with Mr. Sinister and Inferno ends up being freaking awesome. Here's some of those reprints. And according to this, some of these were reprinted in like 1994, 1995, and 1990, and 1991. Just really, really awesome stuff here. So just some concluding thoughts. This was just awesome. I would honestly put the Mutant Massacre kind of up there with some of the most iconic. Of course, I would say Dark Phoenix, Days of Future Past. God Loves, Man Kills is, above this. But honestly, up until this point in the X-Men lore, I would put Mutant Massacre, right below those. I know I did just finish reading Inferno, and I'm going to be working on a first-time reading video for that. It's really hard to decide if I would put Mutant Massacre or Inferno above. It's hard. They're really close. The highlights of this is definitely got to just be the massacre aspect. You got the Marauders put Colossus out of commission for a bit. They put Nightcrawler out of position. That's a little bit of story where Nightcrawler is losing his powers. You got the whole stuff with Kitty Pryde, kind of not able to unphase, and that kind of goes into that with the Fantastic Four versus X-Men limited series. I loved that. That was definitely a highlight. And as I said, the X Factor stuff with Cyclops going crazy. That really tough read of Angel losing his wings, him becoming suicidal. But then you find out that plot with Cameron Hodge in the X Factor. And then the really last, the highlight of the X-Men versus Avengers being, that Magneto trial that was followed up from Uncanny X-Men issue 200, because obviously his trial got disrupted in that issue, and they kind of follow up with that with a decent little twist, and really makes you question, is Magneto gonna stay good, or is he gonna turn evil again? But awesome read, guys. I had a blast reading this, and as I'll talk about in my Inferno review, I had a blast reading that. I want to get into all that, but yeah. So some first time reading videos to look out for. Inferno. My current plan is to continue reading through the whole Chris Claremont run, and if I read something that just blows my mind like Inferno, I'll post a first time reading review for that. I'll probably do an overall Chris Claremont run reactions and maybe even rankings of my favorite stories from that run. After I get through that, I've got Spider-Man vs. Venom Omnibus that I'm going to read, and I'm also looking at reading the whole Nightfall arc of Batman. The Nightfall, Night Quest, and Night's End. I'm probably going to post that, or try to get to that, hopefully, around the time of the release of the new Bane Premium Format statue, because I do plan to get that and review that for the channel. But thank you so much for watching and joining me in this first time reflection of Mutant Massacre. It's awesome. I would highly recommend it if you're an X-Men fan, a Marvel fan, comic book fan, because it's just got some awesome stuff in it. Thank you so much for watching, and again, click that like button, subscribe, because I would love you to keep updated with some more first time readings.